Welcome to Cheery. Today we will follow the journey of the pirate lad Luffy. The Straw Hat Pirates were defeated by the Navy Admiral, and scattered across different locations by Kuma, at this moment on Sabaody Archipelago. Although the Straw Hat members are nowhere to be seen, their allies are trying to protect the sunny ship from various dangers. Meanwhile, Luffy is soaring through the sky at rocket-like speed, continually calling out to his teammates in frustration. Perhaps everyone is facing a similar situation, and he keeps flying until nightfall, eventually falling into a deep slumber without realizing when. The next day, he lands on an unknown island. This impact jolts Luffy awake, still bewildered about what has happened. However, the immediate task is to return to Sabaody Archipelago. Luffy is thrilled to find Rayleigh's Vivre card, and follows its guidance to head back. Overwhelmed by excitement, he crashes into a nearby mountain wall. Luffy uses his fists to create a path, but lacks the strength in his current state. He starts feeling hungry, and since Sanji isn't here, he's fortunate to find a giant wild boar on the island, and it became a great feast for Luffy. Seeing mushrooms growing around, he became curious and started eating them, not knowing some were poisonous. Not long after, a group of island residents discover Luffy in a mushroom-covered and unconscious state. They realize he mistakenly ate poisonous mushrooms, and if not treated promptly, it could be life-threatening. Thinking that Luffy is a member of their village, 3 girls decide to take him for treatment. A group of curious women gathers to watch the healing process for Luffy. The girls start plucking the mushrooms off him, then use fire to burn off the remaining roots on his body. They realize that Luffy is severely injured and take him to the river for a wash. One of the girls accidentally touched Luffy's private area, mistaking them for a leftover mushroom, and tries to pull it. The girls start to realize the peculiarity, and discuss it amongst themselves. At this moment, an elderly woman named Nyan appears, and inquires about what has happened. She is shocked to see Luffy and confirms that he is a real man. This startles everyone. It turns out this is the mythical female island, inhabited only by women. Any man setting foot on this island meets their demise, as it's known as the land of female warriors, where all jobs, whether heavy or light, are done by women. They are not only beautiful but also incredibly strong. Luffy is then taken to a confinement camp for illegally infiltrating the kingdom. When he wakes up, he is surrounded by countless girls, curious to see a man for the first time. Luffy reaches for his straw hat and wonders why he is in this place. Suddenly, he realized he was naked, and the girls ask him about the 2 spheres in the middle of his body. Luffy innocently claims they are golden eggs, dazzling them all. One of them even wanted to touch it. The girl handed clothes to Luffy, but when he put them on, he felt utterly disappointed as they looked overly colorful. Luffy became angry that his clothes had been changed, and immediately the girls returned to an aggressive state, aiming their weapons at him, considering him disrespectful for belittling their goodwill. Luffy couldn't understand what was happening. He was then explained that he had stepped into the female island, and due to eating poisonous mushrooms, he had nearly lost his life. The women warriors of this place had saved him. The girls believed that harboring a man was unacceptable, which would anger the Snake Princess. Consequently, a barrage of arrows was shot to execute him. Luffy quickly destroyed the ceiling to escape. The powerful attacks sent him flying down, and he remembered that his life card was still in his old clothes. So, Luffy hugged a nearby girl to take her with him and then quickly evaded pursuit, running into the forest. Due to being made of rubber, he suffered no injuries from the fall. The girl was Margaret, the one who had saved Luffy when he ingested the poisonous mushrooms. Because she thought he was a bad person, she protected herself. Luffy asks about the life tag in his old clothes, and luckily, she had kept it. He was very grateful and continuously thanked her for helping him. He then explained to Margaret the reason he was banished here. She revealed that the female warriors here were all members of a pirate crew, and their leader was Princess Hancock, the most beautiful woman in the world. At this moment, Princess Hancock's ship has returned, and the female warriors are frantically searching the forest to find Luffy. Meanwhile, Luffy has adjusted his clothes, and decided to set sail to return to his comrades. Vowing to defeat those responsible for his current predicament, he asked Margaret to borrow a boat, but she mentioned she didn't have one, because this island lies within the calm belt, home to dangerous sea creatures. Any ship passing through this area gets attacked by these creatures, except for the Queen's ship, which is pulled by ferocious sea lizards, allowing it to traverse safely. Luffy had to make his own makeshift wooden raft for transportation, but it was easily capsized due to its crude and makeshift construction, causing him to sink into the water. Once again, Margaret saved him. She doesn't want to get in trouble for being friendly with Luffy. She then aimed her bow and arrows at him, and the arrows were extremely powerful. If Luffy didn't dodge in time, he would have been severely injured. Unable to understand why the arrows were so powerful, Margaret explained that these arrows were infused with haki, giving them immense strength, and which was quite normal. At this point, the female warriors arrived, prompting Luffy to quickly escape. On the outside of the island, a navy ship is approaching Princess Hancock's vessel. Vice Admiral Momonga came here to meet Pirate Queen Hancock, and inform her of the scheduled execution of Ice, and summoning her to the Marine headquarters, to participate in the confrontation against the Whitebeard pirates. In truth, Hancock is one of the 7 members of the Royal 7 Warlords, and Momonga insists she must comply, threatening to revoke her position if she refuses. At this moment, the Pirate Queen herself appeared, and she truly was a great beauty, deserving the title of the most beautiful woman in the world. Accompanying Hancock were her 2 sisters, Marigold and Sandersonia. Hancock had no intention of participating in the battle. She even wanted to confiscate all the goods on the navy ship. The soldiers were so enchanted by her beauty that they couldn't focus, causing Momonga a great headache. Despite her beauty, Hancock was incredibly arrogant, and she despised the world government. She made it clear she would never assist them against the Whitebeard pirates. Every word she spoke had a mesmerizing effect on the people around her. Next, the Pirate Queen extended her hands, forming a heart shape, and released her secret technique. A beam of light emitted from the technique, turning the entire navy into stone in an instant. In that moment, Momonga had to stab his own hand with a dagger, to resist the enchantment and petrification caused by the technique. Afterward, Hancock casually departed, leaving the Vice Admiral helpless. He vowed to stand there until the Pirate Queen changed her mind. Hancock returned to the island, welcomed by the jubilation of the residents. She was a true idol to them. However, she appeared quite haughty and lacked respect for her subjects. Old woman Nyan arrived to find Hancock, and requested her to obey the world government's orders, for the island is protected by the title of Hancock, as one of the 7 members of the Royal 7 Warlords. If this position were revoked, danger would be imminent. Hancock disregarded those words and ordered the old woman to leave. Not only that, she even grabbed the old woman's head and threw her out. Fortunately, Nyan had some martial skills, so she wasn't hurt. It was time for Hancock to bathe. The entire population on the island immediately stopped working and went outside. Shields were erected around the palace, and no one was allowed inside. There was a rumor that the 3 sisters had defeated the snake goddess, but had been cursed. Anyone who saw their bodies would instantly turn to stone and die. Due to this rumor, no one dared to approach. Meanwhile, Luffy was being chased by the snakes and returned to the village. He believed that to leave, he needed a boat. Hence, he had to find the ruler of the kingdom to negotiate. He jumped down from the tallest building, and the female warriors noticed his intrusion into the forbidden area. So they rushed to stop him. Luffy fell from the roof into the area where Hancock was bathing, and thought he was about to drown. But then he noticed Hancock, completely unclothed. Luffy recognized the symbol on her body, which was incredibly familiar to him, although he couldn't remember where he had seen it before. This angered Hancock, because he had seen things he shouldn't have, and she intended to pass the death sentence. Hancock shot a love beam towards her opponent. Luffy, thinking it was a fearsome technique, acted scared. However, nothing happened to him. She used the technique again, but he wasn't turned to stone. The 4 of them were confused, as this was the first time someone was not affected by Hancock's petrification technique, despite seeing her seductive body. At that moment, Luffy took advantage of their distraction and ran away. But evading Hancock wasn't that easy. She swiftly struck him, making him fall flat on his face. He was captured and taken to the execution. At this point, Hancock would decide the fate of the trespasser. As the entire island's population gathered to witness the judgment, Hancock interrogated Luffy, asking how he arrived on the island. Luffy explained that he was blown here by the wind, and simply wanted to borrow a ship to return to his comrades. However, his words weren't convincing enough, leading to his death sentence. Margaret stepped forward to defend him, believing Luffy's words to be the truth. 2 female guards also vouched for Luffy, stating they had brought him back to the village. Hearing this made Luffy very happy, knowing that someone believed his words. Seeing this, the Snake Queen descended from the platform. She immediately used her mesmerizing technique on the 3 girls, turning them completely into stone. Luffy was shocked and didn't understand what was happening. Hancock then ordered the soldiers to bring a giant black panther, considering Luffy as its prey. The snakes that had captured Luffy were terrified and fled, leaving him to face the hunting beast alone. The crowd cheered for the panther to deal with Luffy, and showing no concern for the 3 girls turned to stone. This made Luffy furious, and when the giant panther lunged at him, he landed a powerful punch on its face, causing it to fly into the stands and lose consciousness. This surprised everyone. Not only that, Luffy also publicly cursed them, accusing them of being heartless towards their comrades. However, Hancock argued she had done nothing wrong, blaming the foolish guards for their actions. This led to a heated argument between them. The people around voted in favor of executing Luffy, so the two Boa sisters decided to personally intervene in the situation. Both possessed devil fruit abilities, the King Cobra and the South American Anaconda. Luffy grabbed the 3 stone statues and moved them to safety. Before gearing up for the battle, Marigold, wielding her sword, launched a relentless assault on Luffy, overpowering him with incredibly strong techniques. Not only that, but she also sprayed a dangerous venom, forcing Luffy to dodge and counter with his rubbery kicks. However, he was pushed back and thrown far away. Even though his body was rubber, he still felt a bit of pain. Suddenly, Sandersonia's tail wrapped around Luffy, squeezing his small body. Even though she knew her opponent was quite powerful, Luffy didn't know how to use haki, so he couldn't secure victory. He then launched a kick to escape, but Sandersonia evaded the attack and threw him into the wall. Luffy regained his composure and unleashed a flurry of punches. Although his opponent evaded all of them thanks to haki observation, Marigold threw a punch that sent him flying out of the arena, and into a thorny trap. Hancock deemed Luffy to be too weak, and ordered for a swift execution. Sandersonia wrapped the stone statue of Margaret and teased Luffy. Despite his efforts to resist, Marigold tightly bound him. Seeing his friends in peril for trying to save him, Luffy's anger surged to its peak. He shouted in fury, demanding the opponents to stop immediately. A wave of killing intent spread throughout the arena, causing many to faint. Even the Boa sisters were briefly stunned, and releasing their grip on the stone statue. This was the Conqueror's haki, a power that could conquer a multitude, and Luffy was the chosen one. Hancock also possessed this type of haki, but felt astonished that someone as ordinary as Luffy could wield it. Boredom was cast aside, and it was time for a serious fight. Luffy activated his enhancements, causing smoke to envelop his body. Sandersonia transformed her hair into 8 snake heads to attack. Despite her haki observation, she couldn't keep up with the speed of her opponent. Luffy swiftly wrapped her up and slammed her onto the ground. Seeing her sister defeated, Marigold swung her sword ferociously, but she couldn't land a hit due to her overconfidence in haki armament. She confidently placed herself in the path of her opponent's powerful counterattack, resulting in her being blown off the arena. Hancock was furious with her sisters for not performing well. Fearing being scolded, Marigold enveloped herself in flames, and transformed her hair into snakes. Both of them charged simultaneously. Luffy exerted his strength, countering their attacks with a barrage of punches. Using immense force against his opponents, he made the sisters lose their balance and collide. Then Luffy quickly tied their tails together. Due to being burned, Sandersonia fell towards the spiked trap. She quickly grabbed the wall to avoid falling. Luffy jumped to embrace his opponent, seemingly preparing for a finishing move. However, he was trying to protect his opponent. Knowing that the Boa sisters didn't want anyone to see the mark on their backs, Luffy shielded it from view. Hancock immediately stopped the battle, and ordered everyone to leave the arena. Sandersonia still couldn't understand why Luffy protected her. He replied that revealing the mark was unintentional during the fight. Hancock covered her face with her hand and began to cry. Meanwhile, Luffy believed that his next opponent was Queen Hancock. However, she stated that she was no longer interested. Luffy asked her to revert the other 3 girls to their normal forms, and Hancock wanted to challenge him once more, and presented 2 options, of which only one could be chosen: either receive a boat or rescue the girls. Luffy didn't hesitate and chose to rescue the 3 girls. This surprised them all. Thanks to Luffy's determination, the girls were restored to their normal state. On the other hand, Luffy was taken to Queen Hancock's private chamber. He was not moved by the breathtaking sight before him. Hoping for a satisfying meal instead, Hancock let down her hair, revealing the mark on her back, and asked Luffy if he knew what it was. Luffy had seen a similar symbol on an old man's head earlier, and Granny Nyan confirmed that Luffy was the one who had punched the celestial dragon. This revelation left the Boa sisters in further astonishment. Hancock cried while explaining the symbol on her back, which was a slave mark that the celestial dragon had inflicted. The 3 Boa sisters were captured by him when they were very young. The dark memories caused them immense pain. But fortunately, a hero took unilateral action at that moment, freeing them from their enslavement. Afterwards, the hero applied a new seal on them to conceal the mark of slavery. If Luffy hadn't intervened to protect Sandersonia during the clash, that secret would have been exposed, and people would no longer trust the 3 sisters. Luffy expressed strong disdain for the evil heavenly dragons, which deeply moved Hancock. She lent him her ship to go. This makes Luffy very happy because he can go find his comrades. That evening, an elaborate meal was prepared to honor the esteemed guest. The female warriors began to grow fond of Luffy. Impressed by his unique stretching abilities, they playfully teased him. But feeling bothered, Luffy fled the feast and ran to Old Woman Nyan to hide. He was surprised to learn that Hancock was also one of the 7 warlords of the sea. The news is more surprising, as the war between the Marines and the Whitebeard pirates is about to take place, especially the public execution of Ice. This shocking revelation left Luffy staggered. When Ice was imprisoned at Impel Down, and by sea it would take about a week to get there. If we use a navy ship, it will be much faster and only take 3 days. Luffy really wanted to rescue his brother, so he had to postpone reuniting with his teammates. Upon learning that Hancock had been summoned to participate in the Navy's mission, Luffy decided to seek her help. However, the pirate empress fell ill, her body running a fever, likely from spending too long immersed in a bath. Nyan went to check on the situation and discovered the cause of the illness, so she called Luffy to meet her. Hancock got up and welcomed him. The two had a private conversation about how he wanted Hancock to agree to the Navy's summons, so he could go there to rescue Ice. Surprisingly, she agreed without any hesitation. It turns out she had fallen victim to the sickness of unrequited love, and she had indeed fallen for Luffy. Now, Hancock couldn't go against the dictates of her heart. After making preparations, both of them quickly set off. The entire island's residents gathered to bid them farewell. Luffy hid under Hancock's cloak, then stepped onto the Navy ship. As this warship headed towards the execution platform, where Ice was being held, can he rescue his brother or not? Let's follow the story in the next part. The video ends here for today. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to the channel to support Cheery in the upcoming videos. Thank you for watching. Much love.